Welcome to the Thought Leadership Podcast, where we share insights on how you can become the go-to thought leader in your niche. I'm your host, Alejandro Sanoja, founder and personal branding consultant at Empresarios. And today our guest is, for the second time, Candyce Edelen. This episode is an experiment Candyce and I decided to do, and we appreciate your patience because some aspects of it might do better on video than on audio. However, you are consuming it, and we hope that this reverse consulting exercise will generate some insights for you. Candyce Edelen is a seasoned entrepreneur with plenty of road rash earned by co-founding two fintech companies, one of which made the Deloitte Fast 50 list in 2004. In 2007, she launched Propel Growth and enjoyed 10 years of growth from inbound leads based on thought leadership she was publishing and existing relationships in the financial industry. But in 2018, she and her partner decided to pivot to a new target market where they didn't have an existing network. She didn't have a big travel or conference budget, so meeting people in this new industry was tricky. But she had to generate new sales quickly or the company wouldn't make payroll. She hates cold calling, so she researched LinkedIn lead generation techniques. After a bit of trial and error, she landed on a strategy that worked. Within 6 months, she made 500 new connections and booked 125 sales calls using only LinkedIn and Google. It worked so well, she started teaching other sales teams how to use the same methods. This approach allows her clients to develop a consistent and predictable strategy for bringing in qualified sales opportunities. Okay, and here we go. This is going to be something completely new for both of us. We're going to do live reverse consulting on the spot. So bear with us as we do this for the first time. Candyce, do you wanna be client or do you want to be consultant first?
Oh, I'll go with client first.
Oh, okay. So I'll assume usually how people find us is they're searching for something related to personal branding price, personal branding company, personal branding agency. We're usually first in those terms. So they find us, they contact us, we get them to fill a form, and then depending on what we see there, we offer them a complimentary consultation call. So, and we're gonna mix that consulting component, that initial discovery, with a little bit of the actual work, because we wanna show a little bit of the work. So I'll assume that you came through the website and this is our discovery call. So Candyce, please tell me, why do you want to build a personal brand?
Well, as a trainer, my personal brand is the company brand right now. Now, eventually, I will eventually want to sell this company. And so I need to create a personal brand that attracts people and makes people want to work with me, while at the same time building a company brand so that gradually over time, like right now, my personal brand is more important than the company brand. Gradually over time, I want them to shift so that I can bring new people in who would then gradually take over this business and build their brand. So then it would be them coming back up. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's going to take some time. So understanding how to make sure that my personal brand speaks to people the way that that they would say, oh, wow, I am trying to get more business from LinkedIn, and Candyce is the person to help me because she gets me.
Okay.
And she gets what I'm trying to do, you know?
And do you have a timeline for that process to happen? Are you thinking I want to sell in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years?
Oh, selling the business?
Yeah.
Within the next probably 5 to 10 years. It would not be before 5, but I don't know that I want to wait 10.
Okay. And what do you want to do after that?
Retire and write books.
Okay. Which kind of books?
I've got a couple of ideas. One of them is I want to tell stories about missionaries. and kind of what drove them and what kind of challenges they ran into. So that's the one that's percolating right now.
And is it going to be fiction, nonfiction, historical?
Nonfiction, kind of
Okay.
memoir style, but not my own memoir, theirs.
Okay.
A collection of stories.
Coincidentally, this is not the purpose of this call, but I have some recommendations about that because I am just going through that journey. I want to be a full-time writer at some point too, and I'm going through the Story Grid Guild, which teaches you how to become a writer and how to understand beats and scenes and all of those components. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later.
Now you've made me commit to this publicly too, which is a good thing.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so you want people to understand that you can help them find their ideal clients on LinkedIn, and you want that to help you grow the business, but you want the business at some point to be its own flywheel, right? I take Candyce out of this and the flywheel it's still going.
To that line, I've got a pretty decent personal brand on LinkedIn, but I don't know that it's translating very well to the website, because the website is more about a we instead of an I, which I want it to be. But like, how do I pull in the brand of what people know me for without losing the opportunity to brand the company? Because I see a lot of trainers that it's all about them. And so then, it's like, well, then what do you do when you want to retire?
Correct. And do you have any milestones that in mind that you have to hit to be able to sell the business? Are there any revenue target? Are there any income leads target? I understand that if somebody's going to buy a business, they're going to want to see the numbers and see that I want to see the past and understand what's making it tick so I can project in the future and understand how is it that I'm going to get my money back. And I also know that depending on the size of the business, the people who are going to buy it are, maybe it's another business owner, depending on the size, maybe it's a private equity group, maybe it's a public company, depending on the revenue, it's going to be a different buyer. So what do you have in mind for that process?
I mean, this is a lifestyle business and it's going to be marketed as such. So it wouldn't be probably an acquisition by a large company. It might be by another LinkedIn trainer might pick it up to add to what they're already doing, or a coach that wants to have the added residual income of something that's a more passive stream. So yeah, and we're going to need to let the revenue stream grow. I'm not looking for hockey stick growth. I'm looking for gradual year-over-year growth, so that within 5 years, we've got a pretty solid business too. And I would think the way I'm visualizing it now is that someone will join us as a partner with the express intent of buying us out, but we can build their brand and build up their presence so that when they take over the business, it's not like a painful experience from the customer experience perspective, so that everybody goes, oh yeah, of course, Alejandro's taking over. I've known Alejandro for 4 years now or whatever. And so that totally makes sense that Alejandro was taking over. I like him better than Candyce anyway, so that's great.
Yeah. And so with that in mind, what are you doing currently and how far do you think you are from achieving that goal?
Oh, we're quite a ways. We just launched this business a year ago. Well, I guess it's almost a year and a half now, January of 2021. So right now we built this business. I always told everybody that came in when we first launched the course, Prospecting Mastery, that we took off with this airplane while we were still building it. And we're still building it while all you guys are on it with us. And we've left some parts on the ground. So please forgive us when we put something on that doesn't fit right and tell us about it so that we can fix it. And I found that our clients were so incredibly generous and understanding that, being cool with it and pointing out when there was a flaw. But also, like there was one day when I was doing a live course where my internet crashed and I had to get out, reboot the router and come back in. And everybody came back in and they're like, no big deal, it happens. And I think that human element, like I sent an email out recently that I sent something about a promotion for a workshop that the workshop had already happened and the promotion was closed. And I sent 80 people an email, not realizing that they were getting this promotion. And I'm like, oh crap. So as soon as I realized it, I sent an email titled, whoops, and I just was open. I'm like, look, I sent you this email, Alejandro. I really apologize for it. It was a mistake in my marketing automation platform. We're just learning how to use this email platform. And so please forgive me. I got better reply rates on that than I get on any other emails. It's like this, and this is part of our brand, not just my personal brand, but also Propel Growth's brand, is that we're human. We admit our errors. We don't pretend to be perfect, and that makes us approachable. And I think that that's going to be something that's super important as we go forward.
I'm loving it. And as an aside, there's research that shows that client satisfaction is actually higher when a problem arises. And
if you handle it well. Yeah. I was doing a live workshop, a paid workshop, and I had done rehearsed timings on PowerPoint, and I didn't know what would happen if it said, do you want to save these timings? And I'm like, okay. Well, then what PowerPoint does when you save the timings is if you don't cancel that, it auto advances the slides. And that was happening during my live workshop. And I didn't want it to advance yet. So I'm like back and forth and it's throwing me off. And so I'm like, you guys, I'm really sorry. I got to stop and get out of this and come back in. And everybody's like, hey, it's totally cool. Don't worry about it. And I got more engagement on that and then a lot of people, I posted about that mistake. And I got a ton of engagement on that post on LinkedIn with people just encouraging me, and it's like, that helps my heart. But it also, I think, just own your mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the vulnerability and I love the component. We usually joke because I'm pretty OCD and I used to be so disciplined about there cannot be any mistakes. This needs to happen at this time. And now I actually laugh about the mistakes and we joke with the teams like, oh, let's use it to see who is this person that we're dealing with, right? Because if it's someone who one mistake and then they start screaming, it's like, perfect, this is not someone who we would like to work with. Or if we have a typo somewhere, it's like, that's perfect, because anybody who thinks like that, and me included in the past, they don't understand that life happens. And even I don't remember that program that it's about the total quality. I know they have the 6 Sigma belt. I think even in the best scenario, it's like 90 something %, right? Like even the highest quality people, the most logistics, you are the master of getting things done perfectly. You still have a percentage of mistakes, right? Like planes crash. So I think we're going to be fine if we have a typo on a website or if our Zoom call crashes. Okay, that's great. Now, Candyce, I want you to think that, okay, let's say we start working together and this is going to be our goal. We're going to help you build that business that in 5 years is going to be able to be a target, a good acquisition, a good investment for someone who wants to take over. It's 1 year from now, and we're celebrating that our engagement is working amazingly. I want you to think about 3 to 5 things that are letting you know that it's going great. What are those 5 specific maybe goals, maybe KPIs that that you would look at and you would say, wow, Alejandro and Latin Impresarios did a great job because of this?
Good question. Okay, so we're fast forwarding
Only 1 year.
365 days from today.
Correct.
Okay, not 5 years out. Okay. I've been booked to speak at 5 conferences where my audience is 100 people or more.
Okay.
And I have attracted 2,000 new people to our email newsletter with LinkedIn tips. And 300 people have bought our course, Prospecting Mastery. And we sold out our January and July accelerators a month early. We only take 20 people. So right now I've got a waiting list of 100 people for this one. So we're on track, hopefully.
Okay, so in those, you said 300 clients for what particular?
Prospecting Mastery.
Okay, and that is, how much is that product?
$497.
Okay, $497. And then the accelerators, you would want at least 40 people already booked. And how much is that program?
It's for an individual, $4,600.
Okay, 4,600. I'm gonna do some math here real quick. It's about $150,000 in revenue.
It's more than that.
For the 300 clients.
Mastery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for the other one is about $180,000 in revenue. Okay, so about, if we hit 5 conferences with at least 100 people in the audience, 2,000 new people subscribe to the email, 300 clients, the Prospecting Mastery, and 40 in the accelerator, that would be a success for us.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
We've nailed it then.
What are you on your own with what you're doing? Do you forecast that you're going to be able to do this?
We're close. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we'll probably trail behind on the Prospecting Mastery. So that's an area where branding that and really getting the message across. We rebranded it, and the name is new, and the website, the sales page, everything is new now from what we had originally. And now we just did this in February, March, and April. So we haven't had enough time to really test it yet, because I haven't brought in quite as many new leads, because we were so busy trying to we rebuilt the airplane. Like, we landed it, we're like, okay, this is a mess. Let's go rebuild it and put things back together the way they're supposed to be, and then take off again. So we've just now taken off again, and we're trying to fly again. But so my pipeline for the accelerator is 10 times what it was last year at this time. So we're really, really improved on that. But we've seen a decline on sales for, have we seen a decline? It's not that we've seen a decline from last year over year. It's that we haven't seen the incline that we were hoping for yet, year over year.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this set season, like, from January to June.
And is your typical funnel email newsletter the mastery and then the accelerator group? Is that how it usually happens?
So if you think about kind of a flight plan, and your cold lead is coming in from the North Pole, they're coming to a few different things that they can buy into. One is a free webinar. We're trying to kind of reduce that prominence of that, because we're replacing it with a paid workshop that's really inexpensive. We haven't figured out our price yet. We ran it live, and that will become an evergreen asset on our page for Lead Magnet. Then they go from there normally into prospecting mastery, or they may go straight to the accelerator, but they still get prospecting mastery as part of the accelerator package. And then we've got a community on the other side that they can join on a monthly basis. So, but yeah, generally it's lead magnet to workshop to prospecting mastery to accelerator to community.
Okay, and the community, is that if you join the accelerator, do you get the community?
They get it for the 90 days that they're in the accelerator, and then it will be a monthly fee after that.
Okay, and how much is a monthly fee for the community?
That's a great question. We have not, the community is there, but the founding members are recommending some prices for it. And so we're going to test it. It'll be probably around $199 a month.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, so that community, for example, for that, whoever's going to acquire the business, that sounds great because that's recurring. That's recurring revenue. So that's music to the ears of whoever's going to acquire it.
And what we're finding, we've been doing workshops, these low-cost workshops, and the people who've taken prospecting mastery are also buying the workshops. So that creates a little bit of additional customer lifetime value, because if we just keep running these workshops periodically, that just brings in incremental revenue from those. If they don't join, we have not made a decision yet about whether we'll allow prospecting mastery people to join the community. We want to keep that community with people who have a lot of experience in LinkedIn, so that we don't get people that are recommending bots in there or talking about pods or something like that. So we want to make sure that the advice that people give each other in the community is quality human to human advice, and no one gets misled. Because there's a lot of activity going on in the community now. It's a small group, but people are super active. So somebody asks a question, they'll get 3 answers. And so I want to control the quality of those answers.
Okay, so free webinar, then they go to the prospecting mastery accelerator, and then community. How, I know that could be a little bit different. Like somebody might jump from free webinar to directly to the accelerator. That could be a little bit different. Now, I want to take a step before the free webinar and walk me through maybe the 3 main ways in which you're getting people to your website in that free webinar.
Number 1 is LinkedIn. So I'm using the same exact methodology that I'm teaching, and engaging with people on LinkedIn via direct message. And I particularly like the pitch slappers, because I will correct their, I'll ask them if they want tips, and some of them are really committed to pitch slapping. For anybody who doesn't know, a pitch slap is when somebody just sends you a pitch with a connection request, or they send you a connection request, you accept, and they connect and pitch you. They don't know anything about you. They don't know anything about your business. They haven't even bothered to read your profile. They are just cold pitching you. It's super annoying spam on LinkedIn. I've been converting some of those to taking prospecting mastery. So that's a big win for me.
That's good.
We've eliminated another pitch slapper. But then also I do outreach on LinkedIn. I'm targeting specific niche areas where we have a lot of uptake on the course. And so I'm doing direct outreach to them. I'm also posting and engaging with people and building my own audience on LinkedIn. That is attracting people. And then I'm doing joint events. So I will schedule an event with somebody who has an audience. And that's the biggest attractor right now, is the joint events. And then things like this, the podcasts. I'm getting on podcasts as often as possible as a guest to just, again, the joint where we work together to promote a message seems to really, really help in leveraging each other's audiences.
Okay, so we have that LinkedIn. Is there anything else other than all of those activities on LinkedIn, related podcasts and appearances that are helping you feel?
Live events where I am speaking at a conference, and then also The workshop itself has brought in, like, we got 60 registrants for our last paid workshop, and most of those were brand new to us.
In this, so that paid workshop, is another product and service that you have, that you're hired to go speak and do a live event, and then let's say by an association, and then you can also get clients from that? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so like I came across this brilliant idea through another community that I am in, of putting a QR code on your slide when you're speaking, and have assets that are specifically related to what you're talking about in that talk. So for example, I just did one in Florida at the beginning of April, and I was teaching people how to use LinkedIn to find prospects and send connection requests. But before you can be successful at doing that, you have to get your profile dialed in. And the most important part of your profile is your headline. People will connect with me and take a meeting with me just because they read my headline. And so I talk about it in that talk, but I also have a workbook that is just a 3-page simple workbook to help them figure out how to optimize their headline for their target audience. So as I'm talking about it, it's like, oh, by the way, I have this free workbook. Here's a QR code. If you scan this, you can go register and download that workbook while we're talking and see how you can, apply what we're learning here. And it was funny. It's like, I had, I think, about 60 or 70 people in the room, and all the phones went up to take a picture. I showed that QR code, I think 7 times in that talk. And even on the last time, there were still phones going up where they didn't quite catch it the first time I ran it through. But there were 3 assets that they could download for free. Well, that put them into my list, that then I used that to promote that workshop. And so quite a few of the people from that live conference converted to join this workshop. The price was $47 for early birds. So it's very easy it's an easy yes.
Okay, and then when you do those events, do you have a strategy to get booked? Are these just people that are seeing your activity on LinkedIn, or they're finding you through another avenue and they book you, or do you have an active strategy to
that? I need that. That would be part of the whole personal branding effort, would be how to get booked. I've been applying to speak at certain conferences, but I need to get better at finding the right conferences to speak at. This was a niche industry conference, and not specifically about sales and marketing, but there's a sales and marketing track for it's for resellers of Microsoft Dynamics. And so there's a marketing and sales track because resellers really need help in it. And so that's who was coming to my workshop. And I make the content really relevant to that audience, so they know that they're going to get something that's really specific to them. And in my public talks, and then I've been doing joint events with people that are tangentially related to my business. And that's been really helpful. They want their clients to have this and learn it. So like marketing consultants, a lot of them have been booking in meetings. Like one of them booked a meeting. We got 97 new leads from that one event. So that's been really good for me, but I have not gotten booked. I got booked for Rev Genius when they did RevCon. I got booked for another sales event. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it right now, last year. And those were really productive for me. So I need to find more of those types of events, both live and in person and virtual.
And do you get to sell the tickets and that's your revenue, or do you get paid as a speaker and they figure out who is attending the event?
It's a marketing opportunity generally right now. Eventually, I'd like to get paid as a speaker, but I recognize that I've got to build up my name as a speaker first. So this next year, I would not necessarily expect to get a speaker fee, but I am going to put up that QR code. Now, it's not a direct sales campaign. because I mean, I think that that's, I don't like going to a conference that I've paid a ticket to attend and getting a sales pitch from the speakers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not going to do that to people. When they come to a session that I'm doing, I'm going to teach. You will leave my session with at least 2 or 3 nuggets that you can put into action immediately. If I don't give you that, I have failed. And so that's why the workbooks and the tools, like I have like a LinkedIn checklist they can get for free, a framework for how to use LinkedIn, and this workbook are the 3 assets. So these are useful assets. Now I'm going to market to you because you've joined my list, but I'm also going to send you tips on how to use those assets. So no matter how you engage with me, you will learn. And that needs to be part of the brand, is like, I want to be on Candyce's list. Like, for example, I just got a no yesterday from somebody who was interested in the accelerator, but the timing is not right. And so she's going to join the January accelerator. We run them twice a year. And I asked her, I said, do you want me to turn you off of the promotions for this then? And she's like, please don't. I really like hearing from you.
Wow.
I'm like, are you kidding me? You want my promotional emails?
There you go. Yeah, she might turn into a client at some point.
She's a partner already. She's booked me to speak to her audience at the end of the month. So like, and she's an affiliate. She's pushed people into our courses. So like, yeah, I mean, but it is still mind blowing to me that she wants my promotional emails. I get it if she wants my newsletter, but really, you want my promotional emails? But I guess I'm providing enough value in them that people want to see them. We have a very low unsubscribe rate. So
yeah, there you go. That's great. And I love that. Like, for example, that would be something, that line that you said about, I don't want to sell in a conference where I was invited to teach and not to sell. That's, for example, a line that I will be looking for when I'm deciding if we want to work with someone, right? Like, I know at the beginning you gotta, we've talked about this, right? Like put on the table, you gotta take whatever you can get and
gotta sell. Yeah.
So we did that, but now we're at the point that I use that call also to see all the interaction, right? Like how they're saying emails, how they fill the form. When we have that call, I use that to see, is this going to be a person we want to work with? Because like, it's going to get tougher as we start creating the content and going through the editing process. So I need to know that that's a mindful person from the beginning. Just like for anybody who's listening, like that's part of our process. We try to look for those good signs that, oh, this is someone we're going to love working with. Because I'm sure it's the same with you. It's a long-term relationship in our case. And we want to be sure that we're partnering with someone that has the same values that us. So I love that line. Now, Candyce, you talked about LinkedIn, live events. Is there any other important way in which you are?
Oh, yeah. Article posting. So I've already written several articles that have been published on third-party sites, and I need to do a lot more of that. There's one that I wrote that OpenView blogs published. That's a VC that has a really successful blog for growing startups, you know, not like just getting started, but in growth stage. And it lands on page 1 of Google results for people who are looking to figure out how to automate LinkedIn. So it's beautiful because it convinces them that it's a really bad idea. So that does well. So I need to get some more that rank on page 1 of Google. It doesn't have to be my site, you know, to get that ranking. I knew that the OpenView blog is really, really well regarded and has great authority. And so publishing on their site is really helpful for us. And so we get a lot of people. I get connection requests several a week saying, I've just read this article. Thank you so much, because I was about to buy into this bot company.
Okay, that's a good point, because I'll ask you about that in a little bit. Now, out of these 3 main areas, LinkedIn, live events, and article posting, roughly speaking, do you know the percentage that they represent in terms of lead generation?
Between live events, what were the three categories you just gave me?
LinkedIn, all your activity on
Oh,
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn events and articles.
Yeah.
The events is definitely the big volume generator.
Okay.
So like a single event will bring 50 to 100 new people to our list.
Okay.
LinkedIn, people tend to go buy. They'll do the free webinar and then they'll buy. Because they've had a conversation with me. You know, if they've either had a conversation via Zoom or we've had DMs back and forth, or they've been engaging in my content. And so the volume is low, but the conversion is high.
Okay.
And by low, I mean, it's not 100 a week. It's, several a week, but it's not hundreds and thousands of them.
Okay. And then the article posting, do you have an idea of?
It's the lowest provider right now, by a significant margin, but we haven't gotten enough articles up to really leverage that yet.
Okay. That sounds good. Well, at this point, like, as you know, we use the They Ask You Answer methodology. So all the description of our services are on the website, all the descriptions of our pricing and why that is, and all of that is on the website. So usually when I do a discovery call, we don't really discuss that. If people ask, I'm happy to do it. And then I usually, I just ask what else they're considering to make a decision. And if they want to move forward, we just do so. But here, we're going to do something different because this is something different. And what I want to do, a great goal for me, I want to focus here on LinkedIn, and I want to help you build an asset that it's not only going to help you with prospect generation, but it's going to be great for when you decide to sell your business. How does that sound?
I would like you to make it more specific to getting speaking engagements, getting booked at conferences, if you can.
Okay. We can definitely look at that as well. We can definitely look at that as well. So with the conferences, let's start with that. If that's where you want to focus on, do you know how is it that people look for speakers for their conferences?
I think it's different for different how well established an event is, but where I've gotten booked, I'm a known entity. So like with RevCon, I had gotten acquainted with Jared at Rev Genius and with a couple of the other people that were organizing that conference. And so I think they might have asked me to apply to speak. And the other conferences that I've done, trying to think if any, I don't think I've had any that I got booked for that were cold applications at this point. Like I was a cold lead to them. They were more warm. So I've met them on LinkedIn, most likely, or on Sales Hacker.
Okay. Do you think they search for that on LinkedIn or on Google?
I think it's more word of mouth when they're trying to book. I mean, that's certainly, I've organized conferences myself for when I was in the financial services industry. I drove the content for the Americas Conference for an association, professional association for 4 years. And it was absolutely word of mouth. We had a committee that was responsible for figuring out who the speakers would be. And we were usually booking 150 to 200 speakers for that conference. And I don't think we ever booked somebody cold. Like went and hunted them down. It was always, oh, so-and-so would be a good speaker. And then that person might refer us to another person. So all word of mouth.
Do you currently have a page on your website that talks about your experience as a speaker,
Not
People have
yet.
been there. Okay. Okay.
We know
so,
we need it, but it hasn't been built yet.
Okay. So usually the approach I take for this would be to find a keyword. Like I know, for example, personal branding speaker is a keyword people search for. So I have
Oh,
a page
okay.
on my website that has that and have some of my speaking samples. So with this, what I would say is, let's do it. Let's do it.
Probably like LinkedIn speaker or social selling speaker, but there's probably a lot of competition.
Okay, so this is not bad. It doesn't have a lot of search volume. It has some cost per click, which means that people are getting leads through it. And let me just give a kind of like an overview. When you're looking for a keyword, you want ideally high volume. If it's on the thousands or tens of thousands, that's amazing because it means a lot of people are searching for it. The second thing you're looking at it is cost per click. The highest the cost per click, it means somebody's paying a lot of money to get clicks on that keyword. So it means that it's closer to a buying decision. The higher the cost per click, usually the closer that keyword, that term is to a buying decision. And then,
Can you
of course,
do a quick look up on LinkedIn Trainer? I want to see how bad that is.
This one is hard.
Yeah, I figured.
And it doesn't have a lot of cost per click. So it means that it's like either middle of the funnel or top of funnel.
Okay.
I would guess. We would have to do a little bit more research. But for example, let's say LinkedIn speaker. This based on your, let's put your website here so you have an idea. Okay. So your website has great homepage, SEO score. It has some organic traffic. You have 35 domain authority. This is amazing.
Really?
Because it means, like, I'll give you an example. Us, when we started our new niche, we were doing kind of like the typical digital marketing agency. We would do websites, we do social media, video, SEO, paid, you name it. And then we decided, no, we're going to focus on personal branding. So a year ago, our website had maybe 2 domain authority, 1 domain authority. It was super low. And we just started posting content about personal branding. We did a complete rebrand. And now we're ranking for terms that are 40 in terms of difficulty, 50 in terms of difficulty, number 1, just because we did good work for over a year. And we were starting from scratch. In your case, like 35 domain authority, that's amazing. You could rank, you could almost go for some of those tough 80, 70, 80, 90 keywords. It might take a while, but you could definitely go for those. Or for anything below that, I would say in 3 to 6 months, you could be ranking for that.
What keywords are we ranking for?
We would, if we see your search console, we would get more accurate data, but this is a good overview. You're ranking for so masterclass sales, for example.
Yeah, we rebranded, so we don't call it a masterclass anymore, but I don't know that people coming to that are looking for what we offer anyway.
Let's look at this one, LinkedIn sales strategy, for example.
That's the one I want to rank for.
Okay, so we can definitely do that. Like that's totally, and this is a super valuable keyword.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at that. LinkedIn, the way we would do it is.
Oh, see, that's a bot. Expandy is a bot.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I love their content, but they're banned from LinkedIn.
Really?
Yeah, you can't find their company on LinkedIn. They've got some sort of academy that they created to try to get back up on LinkedIn, but all of the employees who work for Expandy can't like add Expandy in their name because the company and the CEO are banned.
Wow.
Because they're breaking the rules. They're automating LinkedIn outreach.
So I'll ask you, based on what you know about LinkedIn sales strategy, do you think you could write a better blog than this one?
I think I could write a competitive blog. Their stuff is good. I mean, I as a product and as a company, I respect them. What I don't respect is the fact that they've built a business to deliberately automate LinkedIn. And so I don't like that about them, but man, their content's excellent.
Okay. So if that's the case, for example, I would want to pick a low-hanging fruit first.
Okay.
Because there are some. So let's put that somewhere. LinkedIn sales strategy. But let's see if there's another one that, because if you're thinking, wow, their content is good, I would say this is a kind of like middle priority. Ideally, I want to look for keywords.
What about social selling LinkedIn?
Oh, this is it's not that difficult. Okay, let's see. Okay, social. Okay. And then HubSpot, which is this one.
And HubSpot usually isn't hard to do better than.
Okay, yeah, because it's usually general advice.
Yeah, it's really low level stuff. I'm gonna, and that's just a profile. I'm gonna teach you how to sell, not just optimize your profile.
So let's build together. Let's build the outline of how is it that we're gonna rank on that social selling LinkedIn keyword. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing I would want to do is, of course, take a look at the one that it's ranking. So this is from LinkedIn, of course. So they have, okay, create a professional brand, focus on the right prospects, engage with insights, and build trusted relationship. So that's good to have in mind. Okay, what is it that the other people that are ranking are talking about? What are their H2s?
Yeah, I've got like a framework that I could use as an image on this and give far more detail on those steps.
Perfect. And then same with this one. I'll send you that link so that you can later on read through it because you're gonna have a better understanding of, oh, I can do better here. Oh, this is good. Let me touch on that. So then after that, what I would do is I want to include all these questions that people also ask, that it's important that either you have them at the end of the article, FAQs or something like that, or if you can work them in your outline, that is great. So what is?
Oh, wow. Awesome. Okay.
Right. So these are all great questions that I would somehow, as you're working through your outline, I would work them. And then
you could literally make that the headings and the different sections.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Ideally, you want, and that's like a whole different topic. Like once you write the article, picking your H1, it's key. It needs to have this keyword, social selling LinkedIn. And those are kind of like the most technical aspects. But you want to make sure that it's there, like how to do social selling. The thing is, like, it's gonna sound weird because ideally you want to have it like that, but you could how to do social selling on LinkedIn. 3 steps that you can take, like we can brainstorm that later, but that it's important. And then what you just said, it's also important. If you can make the H2s, the subtitles, these exact phrases and answer the question in the first paragraph, that is what Google loves and people who are searching love. And then of course you want to hook them so that they read the rest. But then let's do the other search. Then I'm going to list here some other keywords that ideally you can cover within your text. Do you have your website on WordPress?
No, it's on Kajabi.
Because like one of the things that we use, I don't know if Kajabi has that, but the good thing about WordPress is that they have, when you're writing content, it helps you write it so that it ranks better.
Oh yeah, Yoast. I could actually write on our WordPress site and use, are you talking about Yoast, or there's a couple of other ones that are really good?
There's Yoast, there's Rank Math. I say that because it really helps you, tells you what is it that you're missing.
Yeah, we have that. So I could write it in WordPress and then publish it on the Kajabi.
Okay.
Because our main site for propelgrowth.com is still on WordPress. We just We actually have a redirect now that sends them to the subdomain because we still haven't figured out what to do with our marketing consulting side of the business that we've sort of stepped away from.
Okay, perfect. So this is how I would start. I want to make sure that you answer the question, like working through, once you have the article written, we can go through it. I would want you to write it and then share it with me. We'll say, we'll report back on this. I would want this article to rank.
Okay.
3 to 6 months for you, at least start that keyword start going up. So what we're going to do, of course, we don't have the time to do it in the call, but I'm going to share with you this document.
Thank you.
You are going to work through the outline. You're going to share it with me, just the outline first, not the draft. Once I see the outline, I'll make some recommendations. Then after that, you'll write the draft. I'll make some recommendations and we'll work through the headline, and then we will report back on how it's doing in the next 3 to 6 months. How does that sound?
That sounds great. And
Okay.
so this is how you help people then. I'm interpreting is, from the fundamentals, you're going to ask what our goals are and what our strategy is for a business. And then you're going to get into the weeds about, all right, we need to go rank for these things. We need to build your brand and make you found for this stuff. This is how we're going to make it happen.
Correct. Ideally, in my case, it's totally inbound. I don't want to reach out to anyone. I only want to talk to super qualified people. So basically, my content in my website are my marketing team, my sales development representative, and almost like my initial part of the sales team, because there are forms, there is content, there is videos, all those questions about what happens in the first 3 months, what are the deliverables, the typical questions that people would ask in that initial stages of the sales process. I answer all of that on the website. So that's really what we want to do for clients, to position them as the authority, so their ideal client comes to them and they don't have to. It's usually smaller companies that don't have a big team, so I don't want them, kind of like in your case, right? Like, I don't want you to waste any time with tire kickers and people who don't have the money and who are not ready to make a decision. For them, the website, it's there, and we build it so that is the case. So that's another thing that I would ask you. How many of those, like from this, let's say we built this article and this is helping you attract new clients, you would send them directly, you would link, like your main call to action in this blog would be the free webinar?
I mean, I have the options of the free webinar or the paid mini workshop as an easy yes. I would probably do the paid. This is still a decision process that we're in the middle of making, because the paid workshop kind of assumes that they have some things worked out. But the idea of the workshops is to give them one skill that they can go use and get immediate results with. So the current paid workshop is how to go from LinkedIn connection to meaningful conversation. Okay. So it's how do you get them to accept an invitation to connect, and how do you use DMs to book a meeting with that person? And I go through the process for doing it, how to do the messaging, find a nugget on their website, or on their website or their LinkedIn profile or a Google search, some nugget that you can use to start a conversation with them, something they are interested in, something that's important to them, not to you, and then get a conversation going and book a call from that. And what I'm finding is that when people do this 1 hour workshop, I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn from them going, I got my first meeting already, like the next day.
Okay.
So that's what that workshop is about. It doesn't teach them how to optimize their profile or things like that, which is really necessary for them to have continued success of that. Correct. But you can't teach them everything in an hour. Correct. So we have to like kind of chunk it down. We'll be doing additional workshops on other topics that sort of surround and are are complementary to prospecting mastery, but do not replace it.
Okay. Now, but let me ask you this then. Are you happy with how your website is helping you convert those leads into paid customers? Are you spending
No.
a lot of time having conversations with them and answering emails back and forth and questions? Or is it happening mostly, yeah, I'm just meeting with people who are almost ready to buy, and my conversion rate from what I consider a prospect to client is high?
No, it's not what I would like it to be. And we may have messed it up. We modified the content quite a lot based on, we talked to customers. We did it right in terms of modifying the language. We went out and did buyer persona interviews and people who didn't buy, and tried to figure out like where should the messaging go based on what they're telling us. But our conversions seem to have declined, and I'm unsure about why that is. It might be that the people that were coming in last year, many more of them had had conversations with me, and so it's a little hard to just look at raw numbers and say, oh, our conversion ratio was better last year because of the messaging, when it could have been because a larger percentage of the people who came to the site either saw me speak or they talked to me. And so, or they've engaged with me in DMs on LinkedIn. So I don't think it's converting the way that it should, but I don't have enough information yet to determine why.
Okay. So there I would want to look at conversion rates from each point, right? Like how many people, I would want to look at your Google Analytics and see how many people are coming through the different areas, right? Like it tells you LinkedIn, organic, direct, etc. And then I would want to look those journeys. Put events in the important pages that you want people to visit to see, okay, this is kind of like the baseline. Let's say, for example, we're trying this new strategy where we have a banner, kind of like an ad banner in one of our own blogs, our high traffic blogs, to see if it's working to get us more people to book a call. But so I put an event to see if more people are going to the book a call page from that banner to see if it's actually working. So I would
Right.
want to, that's something that we would do. We would look at your journey on the website, and then take educated guesses of why or why not we think it's working or not, and then just test for a month. What if we add a video where you're explaining like, hey, thank you for being here. My name is Candyce. I'm going to walk you through what's going to happen now if you sign up for this free webinar, or if you sign into for this particular product or service, this is what's going to happen. This is what you're going to get. I don't know. Do you have that already on the website?
We've got a video. I haven't actually watched it recently. It's more about the why than it is about what you get. So I wouldn't want to get rid of the why, because it tells my personal story. And I hear people, like I was just at a live event before we got on, and someone in the room retold my story. It's that whole idea of stories, facts tell, stories sell. But further down on the page, we could certainly incorporate another video about what is this course? What does it include? Why should you sign up? Who's it for? I hadn't actually thought about doing that, but that would make sense, because we're still working on getting a video for the accelerator and for our homepage. So once we do that, I don't know if you're on my site, but there's a circular image at the top of each site, and we're going to replace that with videos for each page, hoping that that will help, again, that personal brand, bringing my face into the conversation early, I think might help.
Correct. And for example, all of those frequently asked questions, it could be a small video, because and the magic of the video is that it's kind of like the podcast, the audio or the video. When you hear a podcast of someone, when you see the video, you feel you know them.
Yes.
And you're familiar with Marcus, so he says 30 plus pieces of content. When people consume 30 plus, that's kind of like the magic number, and after that the closing rate, it's almost 100%. So we would want them, even though it's there written, it's not the same when it's written where they don't have a voice, that if it's you in video. And you could have both also, but
Yeah, I
say,
would definitely do the both, because I'm not a video watcher, but I know that a lot of the population is on the video watcher side of things. That's a good idea. I like the idea of putting two videos on the page. One, just kind of the opener, what's this all about? And then lower on the page, what if I buy this course, what do I get? What's the experience like?
Yeah. So basically, that's something else that we would do. We would look at Google Analytics, the movement of the people, and we would want to add content of you speaking to the audience to increase those conversion rates. And that, of course, might mean different things, but that's something that we will want to do. The typical questions, maybe a pricing page with all the different products and services, maybe comparing, like those are kind of like our secret weapons. Our secret weapons are looking for keywords, something like LinkedIn sales consultants, and listing your competitors and just talking, hey, if you do search on this topic, these are the people that you're going to find. Some of them I know, some of them I don't. This is what I do. And I just want to work with the people who are, there you go. There you go.
For those listening, I'm holding up Marcus Sheridan's book, They Ask You Answer. I've got pages and pages of notes from that on figuring that stuff out. So I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah. So those two are a secret weapon because people are afraid to do those things. People are afraid to list their competitors. People are afraid to talk about prices. So that's kind of.
So my challenge with the competitors, I was thinking about doing like kind of a bot analysis and talking about some of the bot companies like Expandy. I'm not going to be positive about them. And so I'm a little bit concerned about using their names.
Okay.
If I'm not positive, I can say what they do, but I'm never going to recommend a bot. So I've thought about that and chewed on it. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I would say list other actual consultants.
Okay.
Who are kind
and
of
in
like
that case,
in your niche. And
there
then
are
list, I would say there's a bunch of others that do the automation. I would not recommend those. Here are the pros: low cost, low in time investment, and the cons are you could get banned. Like, just list the facts. And there are examples in the books of people who got in trouble. There's I don't remember the specific example. I think he was a home builder or something, that he was just like talking about the facts of like, hey, this type of material, it's good or not, this other is good or not. So he got in trouble with the manufacturers, and then at the end he just proved that it was the fact. So but yeah, you would want to avoid. So I would just list not the names, but I would list, you might find some companies that offer these automation services. These are the pros, these are the cons. But I say I wanted to talk about that. We won't go too much into detail. But those are our secret weapons because of that. People are afraid, and they have the same feelings. I don't want to talk about price. I don't want to scare people. It's like, it's in the book, go through it. But I would say,
our prices are on the page. It's easy to find our prices.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to know, it's $4.97 for Prospecting Mastery.
I would even, that's another thing that I would want to look at, is because you have course, accelerator, events, about us, blog, contact us on the top menu. I would want to make sure that you have the most important call to actions there. Like, for example, we have about, even our blog and some of our components, we have it down low. Up there, we just have services, pricing, and contact us. And people still found the about page. They find it because it's in the footer, and it has a lot of engagement, and people read a story. And usually when we have the conversation with prospects, they say, oh, I loved your story about X. So they find it, but I want on the top to be the three main call to actions, the three most important pages that I want people to visit. So that's something else that we would go through. I want to make sure that the journey you are creating for the people on your website, it's the right journey. You're not kind of like confusing them with a lot of options. And maybe it's working great. Like, again, we'd have to look at the numbers and test one thing at a time. Like, hey, let's move. For example, I would tell you, let's move the events to the footer, because that's not like, that's kind of like social proof. What you have there, it talks about the events you've been. I would move that to the bottom and maybe mention it in the.
Actually, that's where they find the free webinar now. That's the only place they can find it. It used to be on our homepage. We took it off because we wanted people to buy the workshop. So,
Okay.
and then when we've got some live events coming up that will be at the top of that, but that page is where they get freebies.
Okay. So if you don't
Maybe I
want
should
them to
call
get
it
the
freebies.
freebies, I would put it in the footer. Like, what's important is for you to decide, okay, my ideal client does this. They see me on LinkedIn, they see me on an event, or they read this article that I did for another website. Where do they go next? Ideally, they go
Most
here.
of them did that free training because that was our main lead magnet. So up to this point, most of our customers have either done the free training or that paid mini workshop as their first step.
Okay. So I would even change it and say something like start here, but you want to make it clear as possible that this is a journey you should take. And you know, it's just your highest conversion journey. So, and always be testing, moving one thing at a time, right? Like science mentality. If we move too many variables and the result changed, we don't know what did it. We just want one variable at a time. And how many visitors do you get per month on your website on the average total?
I actually can't answer that question off the top of my head. I haven't been paying attention to it.
Okay, so we would want a significant number. If you have, let's say, close to 1,000 visitors per month, I would say, I think 1 or 2 months is good enough data for you to see if it's something that's working or not. But that's something else that in a normal engagement we would do. We would take a look at the website and really understand what is that journey that we want to create. What are the main questions that people have, and how do we guide them instead of kind of like that. I'm sure you've had the example of the jams and jellies. Like if you offer 20,
yeah, if I know that one very well. Yeah.
Right? So we want to make sure that we're always testing and changing and making it easy for people to understand what their journey is.
Right.
And then the last question I wanted to ask you, how many people, how is your conversion rate doing on your LinkedIn profile?
In terms of what conversion rate would you mean? Like the people who are coming to our site from LinkedIn?
Correct.
I don't know the answer to that. I can share my screen. I pretty much suck at analytics. You can tell me where to go to look for it. Oh, you have to enable it.
Okay, so check a overview there in acquisition or scroll down.
So this is just for the week. Do we want to go a little bit longer?
Yeah, so do the month.
Okay, let me hide Zoom. Hold on a second. Okay.
I think
I'll do for the.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. Now go a little bit lower and click social.
One thing I like is that our bounce rate is pretty low. We had an 85% bounce rate on our propelgrowth.com site because we have been blogging for years, and people come, they find a blog and they leave. And so I love the fact that people stick around and look at multiple pages on this site. It's so much smaller. It's kind of ironic.
No, that's great. So one thing, for example, that I would want to do is, because I'm not as active on LinkedIn. I'm not like you're killing it. I'm not, and I have about 30, the same number. So that's something else that I would want to help you do. That average session, it's good that they're staying for about a minute and visiting several pages. So two of the things that I would think about is, have you tried changing your featured section on your profile?
That's a good idea to update it. I change it, but there's very few, very little of my content on LinkedIn links to my site. And that's strategic because my views on LinkedIn go up dramatically when I don't link off site. And so this is the tip on that side is when someone sees your post in the feed, and they want to go click through and read your article, generally speaking, when they go back to LinkedIn, your post is no longer there. So the things in their feed, like they can't find it anymore. If they happen to remember who posted it, great. But I often forget because, the phone rings or I get distracted. I mean, I'm like squirrel. And so for me to remember that I was looking at Alejandro's post is not always going to work.
Have you tried sharing it in the comments?
I'd share it in the comments,
Okay.
but well, I had heard a while ago, based on some research, that if you're the first person to comment on your post, it can depress views by about 20%. But the guy whose name is, I'm blanking on his name right now, which is frustrating because I would love to send people to him. He's great. He said that their latest research is that doesn't seem to be a significant influencer anymore. The reason that links in the post are a problem is because people go away before they have a chance to comment, and it literally suppresses interaction with your post. And so then the algorithm doesn't think people are interested in it. Okay,
so 2 tests that I would say, with Publer, you can actually delay the comment if you want, so that if you're doing it manually, you could just wait a little bit, but you could mention whatever the post is about, like, hey, if you want to learn more about this, I have a guide, and the link is in the comments. Like, I would make a conscious, not every post, but every once in a while, maybe doing that. But then the 2 extra things that I wanted to mention is either adding something in the about of your profile, maybe a post, and I'll show you.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So something like this, where it's a link, right? And
yeah, in your feature. Yeah.
And then the other thing is to play with, and again, I would want you to only change one and see if, without changing anything else, that number of people who are visiting your website from LinkedIn is going up. But you could try something like promoting that asset. This is how we do it on YouTube. So we say, hey, free guide, and we put the arrow here. So you could do something like this with your LinkedIn banner. And I mean, there's different ways. I know you have it more now focused on branding and human-to-human selling. I think that's a great tagline. So you definitely, your profile, it's definitely looking great. These are just some things that I thought that
these are great ideas.
Could be good tests.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just put, find some of your taglines, your assets that you're promoting. Maybe it's that the prospecting mastery. Would you like to learn how to start booking meetings? Like some type of question.
Yeah. I mean, we could sell the workshop or something like that. I like that. That's a great idea.
Because it could be an arrow and say, see my feature section, right? And then, because like this, luckily on YouTube, you have the link here. On LinkedIn, you're not going to have it, but you could say an arrow and then little letters. Take a look at my profile's feature section where there's a link, and then your first link is that. So those are some.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Thank you.
And then I would say only one at a time. So just to recap, we'll work on that article and we'll circle back because I want to make sure that we do get success on that. So we'll work together on that article and make some suggestions. And ideally in the next 3 to 6 months, we should see that keyword go up. Bonus points if you decide to talk about competitors and pricing. For those particular, it could be the same keyword, social selling on LinkedIn. So
a question about pricing. Our pricing is really straightforward, and it's on the bottom of the 2 pages where you decide to buy. On our sales pages, the prices are right there. Do you think that I should add I think it would be really confusing to add a page just about pricing because we're selling 2 products.
So I think because people usually they go straight to pricing, it's kind of like, I want to know, like, how much is this going to be? I know you have it, which is great, but I would try
Do you think
to
I
do
should put it up
something,
at the top of the page?
and feel free to actually completely copy our template and just change the questions. But I would do something like this, where you answer the typical questions like, hey, how much is going to be working with me? How long is it going to take? What am I going to get? And then just, you can have like, hey, my top level is 4,500 and it's this. My middle level is 495 and it's this. And my basic level, it could be the community, right? 199 or that asset or that workshop. And then here, you could have a link, learn more, and then they click there and they go to the actual page. But I would just have it because like people, they always want to, okay, how much is it going to be? And they just want to go here.
And then it lets them compare.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
So
Thanks.
I would create something like that. You can take a look at our page and just change the terms that are related to you versus personal branding, and use it as a template and build something like this, where top offering, middle offering, and bottom offering, and then a link to those particular elements.
All right, I will do it. Thank you.
Okay, and then so that, and then those two LinkedIn experiments, if you do happen to make those experiments, let us know how it goes, and let us know if there was an uptick from LinkedIn.
Yeah, these are really great tips. Thank you. I'm gonna have to come back and watch the recording of this. So, all right, you want to switch?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Okay. So generally people book a meeting